Hey, Dylan, do you want to share with the viewers what your fantasy football team's name is?
Let's not do that.
What is it? Come on, Dylan, say it.
Hello and welcome back to Dodgers Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with our columnists, Bill Plaschke and Dylan Hernandez. After what has been a good week for the Dodgers. It didn't start out that way when they lost their first two games in San Diego to the Padres to fall back into second place for the second time in as many weeks. But since then, they've won four straight games. They avoided a sweep against the Padres. They followed that up by sweeping the Cincinnati Reds. And suddenly they have a two-game lead in the NL West again. So I just kind of want to get your guys' temperature here on where the team is at, kind of what.
Where are you sitting, Jack?
I'm
are you?
I'm in great temperature outside and the cabana thing at my apartment complexes. I have the
Swanky
grills
apartment
in front of
complex.
me.
Swanky.
Yeah, dude, you got that? Like, is that a big screen TV in the back?
Yeah, no, it's a great spot out here.
Also, before you start, I got to ask Dylan. So this Zoom call was delayed about an hour. Dylan, was that because you want to be on the radio?
Yes. I totally forgot that.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I told them I was going to do it like after, it was.
After he told us he was going to do this at a certain time.
He chose Rogan and Rodney over us.
Look, I'm too like ADHD to be able to organize my own life, man. I need like a secretary, but I don't get paid enough to hire one.
Yeah, you chose Rogan and Rodney over us.
No, I'm doing this too.
No. You had
to do this later than we were planning. There has to be some kind of a misconduct penalty for that.
Well, because initially they had asked me if I could go on like earlier, and I couldn't. And so I then like asked, then they offered this like 2:20 slot, and I just kind of like mindlessly said, okay,
Dylan doing things mindlessly.
Mindlessly, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Viewers will be shocked to hear that.
Turn his back on who turned it back on Dodger Debate. Shame on you, Dylan. Shame on you.
Well, at least it wasn't because he was asleep this time.
Oh man, and then I had to they brought up the so there was a report about, Mookie's meeting in Dave Roberts' office, So I kind of had to wear that on behalf of the team.
Be on time, be awake, and don't be doing radio instead of this.
A new rule.
New rule. Okay, well, starting next time.
All right, well, I want to piggyback kind of off of what something Dylan wrote after that Sunday game in San Diego as it pertains to like where the Dodgers are at, because the crux of that column was, does this team have an identity? There was a lot of talk during that weekend in San Diego about the lineup and their need to make better adjustments in game and what their approach should be as a team that's
built.
There
was talk. It was all you.
Look, when Nestor Cortez almost throws 6 perfect innings against you, like clearly something's wrong. And I will say, like after that game, it was one of the more interesting post-game media sessions I've been around with this team, because you have Miguel Rojas saying, "Look, we were expecting a certain game plan from Nestor to maybe pitch us inside with more fastballs. Instead, he was just staying away from us, throwing changeups over the outer part of the plate. We didn't adjust. We were trying to take too big of swings." Dave Roberts said something similar. It's like guys are trying, but they're trying to fix their swing and get their mechanics right instead of just going up there and competing with whatever swing you have that night and trying to be a productive member of the lineup. And I think it gets at this tension that has been present with the team for the last 2 months, which is when you have as many different guys struggling as they've had this season, even right now, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman have been better, but now Will Smith is slumping. Michael Conforto has gone back in the tank in August. There's this tension between, do we want to try to be this powerful slugging offense where everybody's swings need to be kind of lined up mechanically so they can go up there and do damage, versus do we need to just put together tougher at bats and be tough routes and play what I kind of felt would make sense. Not small ball, they're not like Dave Roberts joked. He doesn't want guys trying to hit like he did as a player. But I do think there needs to be more of a balance with this team, especially down the stretch now, like we've seen more in the 4 games since then, where they've been better with 2 strikes. They've shortened up in those situations. They've been a little more patient at the plate. They haven't chased as much. And because of that, they've earned the opportunity, Dave Roberts' word, earned the kind of pitches that you can do damage against. Like that's the best version of this Dodger team. I don't think it needs to be one that's going out there trying to score 8 or 9 runs a game and hit 3 or 4 home runs because the pitching's going to be good enough to where, I think they can throttle back a little bit, focus more on putting together competitive at bats while different guys try to work through different things in the cage and behind the scenes and still do plenty offensively to be a winning team.
Jack, you stop causing trouble. The Dodgers have figured it out. They won 4 in a row. I looked at the schedule. They're going to win the next 12 games. They're
Oh,
going to
boy.
win 16 in a row. They aren't going to lose until they play in San Francisco. They have an easy schedule the rest of the way. Only games against the Phillies and the Mariners. And by the time they play the Mariners last week of the season, the race will be over with. They figured it out. They're so much better than everybody else. And the Phillies have gone in the tank. I don't see anybody's going to challenge them. The Brewers have no heart. Jack, it's over with. Just
The Brewers have no heart.
they have no
They're
heart.
America's team.
They've never had any heart. So Jack, just stop causing trouble. All the guys are back from injury. The Dodgers have figured it out. Dylan, what do you think?
I think the bottom half of the lineup kind of stinks, right? And it is like an injury caused thing. I mean, we talk about like Muncy and the impact. I think really it's just kind of a numbers game, right? And right now, kind of depending on who's playing that day, you have 4 to 5 guys that you're just kind of not expecting to get on base in the bottom half of the lineup. That's the reality. Now one of those guys, Dalton Rushing, happened to kind of hit the biggest home run of the weekend in San Diego. But, I think
And a good at bat where he fought
good
up a
at
2-strike pitch and
well,
then
he needs to.
got
Yeah, he needs to. Yeah, I mean, those guys kind of need to like scrap and claw and whatever. I mean, but ultimately, like they won that game because they hit 4 home runs, right? I mean, I do think. Look, a good at bat's a good at bat. A bad at bat's a bad at bat, right? I mean, and I just think kind of they were going through this stretch of I don't know, man. Like I just think when the bottom when you kind of know half of the lineups not going to produce, I do think it kind of puts pressure at the top. I mean, we've seen this in various kind of postseasons, and I think like I say, right, the good pitching is going to be good hitting. I am a little bit kind of looking at this right now, kind of wondering again. Like I think Muncy has to come back and be good, and probably they need like Edmund to come back, and I mean he hasn't played in forever. It feels like we don't know what his health situation is. Obviously Kike is the kind of guy that we. Right. I mean, frankly, isn't a great regular season player. You just kind of expect him to turn on this thing miraculously in October.
shortened up with 2 strikes yesterday to hit a 2-run
You
single up the middle.
yeah, they're playing the Reds suck, right? I mean,
Nick Lodolo is a good pitcher.
yeah, I'm not.
De La Cruz made a
I never,
terrible error the first
I
game.
never bought on the Reds.
Ball right
But
between
like,
his legs. Yeah, they're
I,
awful.
I don't know. Like I kind of look at this team and I kind of want again if they don't get these guys back, right? If Muncy doesn't come back and kind of hit like Muncy and because that's what gives you the thing, right? It's not like you never have like an entire lineup like where everybody's just kind of locked in. I mean, of like kind of the top what, if everybody's healthy, they have like maybe 6 all-star caliber bats at the front of the lineup, and if 2 of those guys are hitting, that can carry you, for like a game or two, right? Like and right now, kind of again, between the slumps and the injuries and stuff, it just kind of feels like that group is getting smaller. And so you're counting on like a smaller group of guys to kind of give you that kind of production. It gets kind of tough. And especially that gets magnified when the bottom half of the lineup's not doing anything. I do wonder what this is going to look like against better teams in October. Again, I don't disagree with Plaschke, by the way, about the schedule's easy. They've given themselves some breathing room now. I think they're gonna right. They've certainly positioned themselves to win this division.
You don't
October, I think, could be a different story, though.
you don't think they're going to lose a game again until the Giants in 3 weeks?
Well, okay, I might not quite go that far, but like as
They're
a
playing. They're
general
playing terrible
idea,
teams. If they can get a first round bye again, they're going back to the World Series. You talk about the bottom line. Where's Andy Pajes bat? He bats near the bottom of the lineup,
Depends on
right?
the day.
He had 2 home runs the other day. Come on.
Look, I think I would take Dylan's point, kind of turn it around. It's because this lineup might not be at full strength or full capacity in terms of how guys are feeling, by the time they get to October. To me, that's all the more reason why like the approach stuff really matters. Because if the bottom half isn't producing, and then you have Ohtani expanding the strike zone and swinging at bad pitches. Mookie Betts trying to do too much with balls that maybe he just needs to dial back on and get base hits. Teoscar Hernandez and Andy Pages, swinging too big when they need to just put together more competitive at bats. Like that's when the problems start to compound. The reality with this Dodger team is, and Kike Hernandez said as much last night, they only need they only need to score like 4 or 5 runs in a game to win. They only need to put together a couple rallies with where they think their pitching staff is going to be and the way it's honestly looked, more over the last couple weeks. Like this is not a team that last year they kind of needed the offense to carry them because they needed to build leads for their rotation. They needed to build leads for a bullpen that was being really heavily taxed. I think this year, this is like this team, like the pitching's going to carry them. And I think the offensive approach needs to
Well,
mirror that a little
the
more.
starting pitching is. I mean, are we buying on this bullpen?
Blake
At what
Trinan's been
scale?
better. Tanner
You
Scott's
know,
throwing his slider harder. We haven't
yeah,
really
but
seen
we
58s
still
much,
haven't
but
seen it like right. We
I
still don't
think
have
I
kind of
think
we
I
don't
think the
have the
bull
proof of concept yet.
I think the
You
bullpen
know,
will be fine. It's like we talked about even when the bullpen was really struggling. They really only need, given the strength of the rotation right now, they're really only going to need like 2 or 3 guys to really be pitching well. It's not going to be like last October where they had 5 or 6 different guys consistently pitching in leverage. This year, like Alex Vezia, he's got this oblique thing. It seems pretty minor. He was still playing catch. Like he's going to come back. I think that's one of those guys. I think Blake Trinan probably not going to be as dominant, but is showing at least the last couple weeks looking more like a guy that you can count on to get big outs. I think Tanner Scott is getting closer to maybe the more dominant version of himself or the more trustworthy version of himself that the Dodgers were hoping for. Yeah, Michael Kopech back in that group. Jack Dryer's been good. Edgardo Enriquez has yet to give up a run this year. Like I don't think he's going to be closing games in October, but the way he's pitching right now and consistently hitting 102, like I think there's enough in that group that you're going to trust that you can piece it together if you're getting 6 innings consistently from your rotation in the postseason, which I expect.
Yeah, I think two huge things happened in the rotation last week. One was Kershaw. We retired with the last 14 batters in the game. Kershaw's back. I mean, he's as good as ever. And number two, Ohtani going 5 innings. That's huge. I mean, he's officially a starting pitcher. He's back in the rotation. In fact, do you start him at the first game of the playoffs?
Oh, so this is the second part of the thing I want to get into on the show today. Give me your power rankings of the pitcher of the starting Dodger starters that you trust. And if the playoffs start tomorrow, like how would you line up the rotation? Because I think that's going to become a pretty big story here down the stretch, especially if all these guys stay healthy, because it can really go in any number of ways.
Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, Kershaw, and Glass. I don't trust Glass now.
Oh, it's
yeah,
only going to be
I mean,
four. There's going to
yeah.
be five
So
different starters.
Well, how do you leave Kershaw out? Who sits out
well,
in
then
Kershaw?
you got to bump. Then you got to bump Jack's guy Glass now.
Yeah, I agree. You got to bump Glass now.
Guy.
How's he gonna pitch
Jack
out of the
loves these
bullpen?
injury guys in our fantasy football league. You know who he drafted first? He drafted McCaffrey.
Kid,
Yeah.
Jack did.
That's a terrible pick. He's not
I
gonna play.
remember I got the first pick in this league, and I remember thinking like, oh, thank God I'm not picking where Christian McCaffrey's coming up. Like I don't want to make that decision, right? And not only did Jack not avoid that decision, Jack ran to that decision.
Jack, that's a terrible choice. Jack, you're a terrible fantasy football manager.
Hey, I got a solid B grade from the ESPN fantasy draft. I got him, and then oh, I got Cooper.
Nobody wants to hear about your
I
fantasy
got
team,
Cooper
Jack.
Cup too. So we're just doubling
Oh,
down on the.
great pick there too.
Yeah, that guy's done.
He's done.
Well, but that's what it
He's
does
gonna be
compound.
motivated after the Rams discarded him like an old pair of shoes.
All right, so Kershaw, is he in the rotation, and
Yeah, I mean,
whose
yeah.
place does he take?
To me, that's kind of the question, right? Because I think there's kind of the A group. It's Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell.
I
And
agree.
frankly, I think you could justify putting them in whatever order, right? I kind of, I don't know, maybe I just kind of like the idea of like Ohtani being this big game guy and just like, God, to hell with it, right? Like throw him first. But I could, game one they start Snell. I don't have a problem with that. Game one they start Yamamoto. I also have no problem with that. To me, it kind of comes down to the Kershaw Glass now thing, right? Now you look at it from like a pure stuff standpoint, obviously, like one guy's stuff is like much better than the other guy's. Glasnow's stuff is really, really good, right? It's just that when he kind of comes, right, when something kind of goes wrong, all of a sudden it goes like, alarmingly wrong sometimes. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like in one way, like I kind of think, you know, I kind of trust. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's more that I would be okay losing with Kershaw on the mound, whereas if I lost with Glasnow on the mound and he does his like Glasnow thing,
If you lose a class on a mound and
I would
Kershaw's
feel
watching,
stupid. I would feel dumb for having sent him out there. Like,
and
what was I
Kershaw's watching
expecting?
the game and Glasnow's blown up, that's a bad look. Jack, what do you think?
Defend your guy, Jack.
I mean, uh, you got to go. I think the first consideration is you got to go with stuff over like regular season, start to start consistency when it comes to the playoffs. And when you have one guy, I mean, look, the other night with Kershaw is was exemplified kind of the challenge of evaluating him because on the one hand, he gets through 5 innings on 70 some pitches, like he could have kept going, but he was on 4 days rest and they shortened him up. But it was five really good innings. He made one mistake.
He retired the last
Right.
14 hitters.
Tired 14 in a row, was commanding well, was mixing stuff like he's throwing the splitter a little bit more now, which is just a different look. He's using the fastball slider combination a little bit differently. Like he's going to both sides of the plate with it in a way that he didn't, for in the prime of his career. But at the same time, he was throwing 88. And even he said, like, stuff didn't feel very good today. The arm action wasn't as good as I wanted. Yeah, I was able to kind of compete and get through the outing, but it feels like there's been more of those kind of starts with him. Uh, Maybe not lately. Like his August has been really good. He's got the third best ERA in the National League among starting
Yeah,
August. Like it's unbelievable what he's doing, and the fact that he's healthy, that he's staying fresh, that he can kind of physically go start to start without having to worry about how his body feels. Like I'm writing about this week. He was talking about how I used to just be able to throw every ball perfectly, like perfect backspin, just roll out of bed and do it. And now I have to focus a lot more on executing every pitch and throwing it the way I want. And my mechanics still can get a little out of sync sometimes. But because he's not worried about his back or his hips or any of this other stuff that's been nagging him over the last however many years, he's able to go out there and over the course of now 17 starts in the regular season, be a really good starting pitcher. But that doesn't change the fact that he's still only throwing 88, that when you get in the postseason, teams can game plan you more, they can prepare for you more, they can adjust to you better, and they can expose maybe some of the things that diminish stuff isn't, doesn't get as exposed as easily in the regular season. Whereas Glasnow, his blowups, like even this one in San Diego this past week, are not as bad as they have been, right? Like he lost his command, he lost his release point in that fourth inning against the Padres, walked a couple batters, gave up 3 runs, put them in a hole they couldn't come back from. That was bad. It was better though than like what happened in Philadelphia earlier this year when he literally couldn't even get an out because it started raining and it got in his head and he didn't like the mound or
right.
whatever. Like I think his lows are less common, at least they have been since he's come back from injury, and B not as bad. So Kershaw might give you like I think ideally the theory here is like Kershaw would give you a higher floor. I'm not even sure if that's true. Just again, if he's going out there throwing 91, 92, great. But if he's liable to go out there throwing 88, like that's just not that's a scary way to live in October. And
Jack.
Right, but he's also beaten some good teams here. I mean, the flip
he
side of it
has
too is
and
is
like
he's
the
won
way
big
what
the way
too,
games.
he
right? Is that Glasnow's got again? He's got a career postseason ERA of close to 6, right? He hasn't been there like in a few years now.
Kershaw's got
Uh,
a 4.50 ERA
do you
in the
trust
postseason.
him? Right. I mean, the thing too is like Kershaw's right. Like, I mean, the most recent one obviously was in Arizona a couple years ago. When he went out there with his arm practically like dangling off his body. Um, right. But it's to me that one kind of that's more like of an injury type thing. He's healthy now. I don't know, man. Like I don't. Yeah, you say that the blow ups for Glass now aren't as like frequent, but they still happen, right? And you kind of take that with the postseason history. He hasn't been there in a while. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. Like, where do you think? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to tell, right? I
Well,
mean,
are you guys afraid? to start Kershaw because you don't want his a bad postseason game to ruin a great 3 months. You're afraid to go Kershaw. Well, remember Kershaw. Talk about Glasnow in his postseason struggles. Kershaw's had legendary postseason struggles. Are you
Yeah,
afraid to
but when we
expose
kind
him
of,
to that?
you know what though, Plash, like when I go, because I can't remember when this was a few years ago. I went back and I read all the stuff we used to write about him, especially in the early years,
Yeah,
13, 14
I
in there.
killed him. I was all
Yeah,
over
but
it.
it's like he's coming, he's like he's going into the seventh inning on like 3 days rest. I mean, by today's standards, that's like Superman stuff, right? Like it's just, I
This
don't know.
is this is the first time he's really been healthy in several
Right.
years.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, because well, really, what we're talking about here, right, is on Glass now we have A plus stuff with maybe, a C mentality, and with Kershaw we have C stuff with like an A plus mentality, and it's just
I'll
kind of
take the
like,
mentality over the stuff in the postseason anytime
yeah,
because of
I'm
the
kind
pressure.
of, yeah,
Well,
again, I think there's going to be pressure. I don't know. I just don't like it, man. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. I might be wrong again, right? Or for all we know,
You don't like who?
no, like I don't like the glass now, right? It just makes me uncomfortable. Now that said, both choices could be the wrong choice. That's the other possibility, right? Is that what they really need to do is bring back Ohtani on short rest or something? Might be the
yeah.
right thing to do.
I
Not start Ohtani because they're worried about his hitting during the postseason? Do they leave Ohtani out of the rotation, or is he in it for
I
sure?
don't think so. And I think this last game against the Reds was
Yeah,
sort of the affirmation of the fact that like, because when he first came back and he's only throwing a couple innings at a time, he was basically like a reliever and he was fastball sweeper and was really good. He's throwing 100 miles an hour, getting a lot of swing and miss. But when he started getting deeper into games recently, he got a little predictable and teams adjusted to it. And the question was like, okay, he still throws the ball really well. Can he pitch really well still? Can he sequence and mix and navigate a lineup multiple times like a starter is going to need to? And this last game against the Reds was a good sign that yeah, he can. I mean, he went out there, he threw like 23 curveballs. Curveball's like his fifth best pitch, maybe. And he's getting swing and miss with it. He's dotting it or striking it for a first pitch strike. Um, and as long as he continues to do that, I think not only is he going to be like in the rotation, but I think in a lot of ways it makes sense if he's the game one starter in an NLDS, especially this year because you have the off day between games one and two. You can throw him out there to set the tone in a series, and then like he wouldn't have to worry about pitching the rest of the series, because if you had Blake Snell go in game two, which is what I would do, then he could turn around and pitch game five on normal rest. You can maybe flip him in a CS environment, but I think Ohtani's gonna be pitching early in series if he keeps pitching this way, and might be able to get deep into games. He got up to 87 pitches yesterday. He seems to be feeling good, and as long as this progression continues to happen, I think maybe more than anybody, he's going to be like the ace of the staff in October, even if it's not, being available to turn around and pitch on short rest or whatever.
he is
Nasty, man.
made for the moment. I mean, he's the
Right.
one pitcher who understands the moment and is made for that.
And kind of like reading his, I saw somebody sent me a transcript of what he said yesterday. And it's just kind of like it's almost like he's been, he was kind of describing his path up to this point, almost like his like rehab, right? And you mentioned the curveball, Jack. It's just kind of like adding stuff here. Kind of one thing I think about, like, Ohtani said this kind of years ago about how, he views his career in these like 5 year windows, right? And it's kind of like, okay, in 5 years, this is where I want to be like as a player, and how kind of his ability to envision what he wants to be and how he's going to get there. Obviously, this is on a much smaller scale, right? But when you kind of like step back and listen to what he's saying, it's basically like, okay, I want to be. I'm guessing he's got an idea. I want to be here in October, and this was how I was going to get there, right? Through this step by step process. Because I'm not even like, look, if he starts game one. I mean, let's just say it comes down to like a game five. Like, I don't know. You're not like if he pitches well in that game one, you're not starting him in
It
five.
would be an option. Yeah.
It would
Like
be an
that's the other
option,
thing is
right?
it preserves him as a more realistic option in that circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, yeah, and again, just this kind of thing for the moment. This is his, yeah, I don't see how they just like
Of
don't.
course, we're counting all these guys staying healthy for the next month.
Well,
And
and that's where to tie it back to like the Kershaw Glasnow thing. That's why I think right now it's an interesting hypothetical. But really, what the good part about the way Kershaw has pitched is that you would trust. Like I think I would go with the like higher ceiling with Glasnow in the playoffs, but I would trust Kershaw right now, like especially compared to because the stuff's not all that different than like it was in 2023 when he got lit up by the D-backs, but the way he's executing and consistently pitching um, is is at a level that I think would
Well,
play.
dude, he had like surgery right after that. Like, how can you even bring that
Exactly.
up?
That's
Yeah,
what
he
I'm
was
saying.
terrible. That
Because
his arm
because
was
that
falling
game
off.
because that game showed like if you go out there with bad stuff, you can get knocked around. But I think he can
He was
navigate.
actually hurt. Like he couldn't.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. Is like
But he's
now he's
not hurt
healthy.
now. This is
Yeah, he's
different. Like
healthy. He's
the stuff
consistent.
might be bad, but like this is different.
Yes. And that's why I would trust him in a postseason environment. And the good news for the Dodgers is like even if one of these guys gets hurt, they're going to have an option. I think the other way is like if Glasnow does struggle down the stretch, I think like the way I look at it is Kershaw has set a pretty high bar for somebody like Tyler Glasnow to be in the postseason rotation. And I figure that he's going to pitch well enough to clear it. But if he doesn't, it's not like you got to throw him out there if he's struggling, right? Like Glasnow will only be in the postseason rotation if he's pitching or trusted like a full length starter, like if he's pitching at a certain level the rest of the way. And that's why I think all of this is like at least the Dodgers in a good place because it's barring like
He's
total
gonna
calamity.
Glasnow's gonna mow down a bunch of bad teams, right? And then he's gonna have one of his meltdowns in October. Then we're gonna be here wondering why did they start
Okay,
Glasnow?
but then even if he does,
Because Jack endorsed it.
even if he does, he's their fourth best pitcher, right? Like you can survive. Last year, their game one starter had a meltdown every other time he took the mound. Yamamoto had a meltdown in his first postseason start, and I think he had another bad one somewhere. Or he was pretty good the rest of the way. But like you can get away. Like this whole season is not going to be riding on Tyler Glasnow or Clayton Kershaw, right? Like as long as Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani all stay healthy and are all pitching well come the end of the season however you build the rest of the staff, that's a really strong place to start from.
Yeah, but it's huge. I mean, how does he handle Glasnow mentally if he sits him down to Kershaw? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it makes a difference just in the sense that, like, again, I don't know what we can really count from the bullpen at this point, you know? I mean, to me, that's like the biggest question mark still, right? I mean, it is, whatever, hesitation I have about like kind of saying that the lineup is fine. I mean, to me, the bullpen is really kind of the question here,
The bullpen's been better.
Yeah, but
yeah, but it's still a question.
yeah, we haven't
Remember
right, but we haven't since these guys have come back again. We haven't seen them. We need to see them kind of win like one of these like 2-1 games. And right, and that's the thing. It's like we're not going to see like to Plash's point about the schedule.
They won a bunch of close games against the Padres in LA.
Yeah, but that was a couple
With
weeks.
not even having their full group.
Yeah, but that was a couple right, but that was a couple weeks. That was not like a group that was like the Padres coming here and just like rolling over, right? They just Padred themselves.
Yeah.
Um, again, I don't know. I'm not sure, and I don't know if the pen's gonna get tested. Heading into the postseason. Now, like, look again, like last year, I didn't look at that bullpen thinking like, oh, this is gonna right. They're gonna do what they did. I mean, they really kind of right. They carried the team to a large extent. I didn't think they were gonna do that, so you kind of never know, but. To me, that's still kind of the biggest question mark. And to me, because the bullpen's a question mark, it makes the decisions about the rotation all that more consequential.
So Dylan, so Jack took Christian McCaffrey. Who did you take your first round?
Jamar Chase.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, it is a great pick. Well, I picked 1-1. So there wasn't really.
I gotta go back and look at my team here.
There wasn't.
I can't believe you took Christian McCaffrey, Jack. That's such a bad
Who
pick.
would you have? I had like the seventh pick. Who would you? Let me see. Let me see who got picked after him.
McCaffrey.
Genty. I taken Jenny from the Raiders.
What?
Absolutely.
That is disrespectful to a future Hall of Famer.
He never plays. He's always hurt. Are you gonna risk your whole fantasy season on him?
You guys defending Kershaw on one half of this call and throwing McCaffrey in the trash on the other is some level of
big difference. McCaffrey hasn't won 2 world championships.
Have they not won with him?
Huh? No. The 49ers haven't won in years. No,
the worst part of the draft is I got stuck taking Kyler Murray, which I took
Kyler Murray
Yeah. Well, you must not be a Cardinals fan who's watched the
As a backup quarterback,
maddening.
he's my backup. I'm starting Caleb Williams. Breakout year for Caleb. Watch it.
Oh
I
no.
I'm taking
So I would
you're
start
trying to
Kyler Murray over
chastise me on
Caleb Williams.
fantasy advice when Caleb Williams is your starting quarterback.
He's gonna have a breakout year. New coach, new system, great weapons.
Flash, what are you in? Like a 30-team league?
No, 12-team league, bunch of old ESPN guys. Been doing it for
You're gonna make
almost 30
me
years.
you're really not gonna start. I know people don't really care about our fantasy football, but you're really not gonna start Kyler Murray over Caleb
Actually, I'm going to start Kyle
Downs.
Murray in week one because we're playing New Orleans and the Saints suck.
Watch him enough, you'll come away frustrated. That's been my experience.
Do you all think our college football teams are going to do anything to make us not pay attention to the Dodgers for the next 2 months?
Well,
No.
even if they did, UCLA is not going to come let you watch practice or talk to any of their players.
Evidently, I
So,
think they opened things up a little bit. I don't know. Bolts texted me yesterday saying something about how things got better over
oh,
there.
they realized that was a bad idea. Huh.
Yeah. I just can't imagine UCLA being good.
How many games did Dodgers finish ahead of the Padres? I say six.
The Padres have an easy schedule too. That's
Yeah,
nice.
but they're like the Brewers. They have no heart.
Um, yeah, but I think they're okay heart-wise unless they play the Dodgers. It's like one of those weird, like, I don't know, for some reason the Dodgers kind of scare them, I think.
So Dylan, why did you quoted a scout as saying the Dodgers are gettable?
Yes.
Why did he say that?
The pen, unlike Jack, he described Trinan as quote done. Um,
As done?
done.
Really?
Yeah, he thought Scott looked better. He thinks Yates is done. Yeah, so he just kind of doesn't think that the pen is there.
Wow.
He
You
gave
think
very high marks to Mookie Betts.
do you think
He thought his theory
that
was that it was the early season weight loss. He said he just kind of like didn't seem as athletic and it's explosive. Um,
He
for
didn't
just kind of a lot of the season, and that that at least this past weekend in San Diego, he said he looks like Mookie again. So,
he didn't think Mookie needed to go back to right field urgently.
no, well, I don't know what he really, right? I mean, that's where you kind of got to be careful when talking to these scouts because they might tell you what they want to see.
do
But
you think all of baseball thinks the Dodgers are can be beaten?
yeah,
Can be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I don't
it's all
think
about
they're,
all about the bullpen.
yeah,
I think it's
a
the
lot of it is.
bullpen, the
Well, I
lineup
think it's also,
inconsistencies.
yeah, well, I think the lineup too, right? I mean, again, it depends on what the lineup looks like when they get to October. I mean, you had Muncy in there. If Teoscar Hernandez can kind of stay upright, if Will Smith, kind of doesn't, right? He's had kind of had a history of cratering in the second half of the season. They've offset that obviously by spelling him a bit with Dalton rushing, but now that he's slumping, I do think it's kind of fair to ask, okay, well, whatever innings he's caught, has all that kind of caught up to him? Um, but I think that if the lineup can kind of come together, maybe, I think that's the kind of the thing, though. Is I don't think you really look at this team and you can be really sure of anything outside of their starting pitching. I mean, I agree with Jack there. The starting pitching is clearly a strength, but I think everything else is kind of up for question.
Well, I think that starting the starters are good enough to win a World Series at this point. I mean, I don't think it's anybody in baseball you would favor over him right now, right? If they're
Well,
playing a 7 game series, would you?
well, then let's end on this. Since you guys have already flip-flopped once on this question recently, are the Dodgers winning the World Series?
The way they've looked recently, I'm going to flip flop again and say yes.
I can add, well, here's the thing. I'll say this. I can see it more now. I see more of a path there.
Once again, Dylan, every time I ask you this, you go on it's a yes or no question.
Yeah,
Come on, Dylan, say it.
I'll
Yes or
go
no?
yes. I will go yes.
Uh,
All right. And I'm also yes saying Dylan's fantasy team beats the hell out of Jack's fantasy team.
I'll bet you.
Christian McCaffrey doesn't finish the season.
You got to have a little faith.
I mean, that's the thing.
That's a high upside play.
I am confident that I will beat Jack. I mean, that's kind of the one thing. I didn't obviously, when you do these things in 12-team leagues, you're playing to win. You got to reach sometimes. I might have reached a couple too many times. but I am confident that I'm going to beat Jack. So I will not finish in last place.
I'm looking up Dylan's team.
Trayvon Henderson of the Patriots. Good sleeper pick.
I got Hampton of the Chargers.
Hey, Dylan, do you want to share with the viewers what your fantasy football team's name is?
Let's not do that.
What is it? Come on, Dylan, say it.
It might be a joke off a certain former Dodger scandal involving the potential game one starter.
Oh my God, you have Ohtani as part of your fantasy football team name and figures.
Ohtani's accountant.
What's your team name, Jack?
Double vodka soda, best order at the bar.
Mine's very sentimental. I've been the Bill Fish for 25 years because me and my little brother, Andrew Fishbein, my adopted little brother, were co-owners until he passed away 4 years ago. So I've got more of a sentimental name, but we're still the Bill Fish.
See, so I think it's very reflective of our person.
Now I feel like a prick.
Yeah, I know.
You sound like one too, Dylan. Oh, hey, Dylan, I'm just glad we didn't interfere with your radio thing. We got to thank Rogan and Rodney for letting us do this Zoom call.
Oh, I apologize to you guys, but it's hard to it's funny. I don't know if you got this.
Here we go.
Well, probably the people you listened to growing up are all dead. But like anybody who was on air when I was a kid, I have a lot of trouble saying no to. So I never say no to Jim Hill. I never said no to Rogan.
I always say no.
I never used to say.
I agree. I say yes to
I
Jim
never
Hill,
said no to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton in San Diego.
I agree. I don't blame him.
I do. You know who else I do every now and then is the coach John Quintera. He has like a little YouTube show.
He's still doing it. Wow.
Well, he does it he's got like some YouTube thing, and I can't say no to the coach, man. I used to listen to his high school sports show on Friday nights.
I'm just glad you said yes to us.
Sort of, belatedly.
Sort of.
Yeah, belatedly.
Well, I did say yes in the end, and it's because I grew up reading Plaschke.
Oh God, I feel so old. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.